Well, guys, I am super, super excited. I'm going to go ahead and close out today's show with a very special guest. I got Brandon from Beyond Formal coming on. The guy is he's a cool guy. First time I saw him was on actually it was his channel, but he had Rob. I usually just say the Washcast, but Robert from the Washcast was on his show, and I got to watch him. I'm like, okay, I like this guy. He's a pretty sharp guy. I'm gonna start watching him, following him, and everything. And I did, and I catch him every now and then. Caught him in some other little groups streaming as well, and pop in and say hi. But I caught him when he was going to a protest. I was like, this dude has some balls. Let's see where this goes. So I watched some as I could and try to get it out there and get more people to watch it. And I was like, this dude's, feet on the ground, man on the street during a protest. I'm excited about this. It's stuff that I can't do. My job doesn't allow me to do it. I don't have the time to do it. I don't have the funds to do stuff like he's doing. And of course, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, his audience chipped in and helped him fund this little project he was working on. So we're going to look at some clips. We're going to talk about some stories, and I'm just thrilled to have him on. And guys, I'm going to start doing this a little bit more. I know a couple of weeks ago I had Society Reviews on. Absolutely excellent interview there. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to have someone else on. We're going to talk about some politics stuff, and I'm hoping to talk about some entertainment news, especially here in Georgia, the entertainment climate, how things have shifted and changed, and how he plays a role in it. A very, very big guest in my book, to me. So I'm thrilled about that. More on that as we get closer. But yeah, I'm not going to leave them waiting. The man, the myth, the legend is here in the house. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brandon from Beyond Formal. All right, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I've seen you on your channel. You had a good friend of mine, Robert Herr from the Washcast, on, and that was my introduction to you. And I was like, okay, this guy looks like a youth pastor. I could watch his show. This is great. So followed you. I do catch you just randomly live. I know the other day you were on your way to a protest and just testing out the mic and everything. And I was like, hey, man, how's it going? And yeah, and then you ended up going, you drove, and that's what I was wanting to talk to you a little bit about. You drove to an active protest that was going on. Didn't look like it was the Million Man March or anything out there like that. But
right,
it was a good few folks that were out there going on. But yeah, before we dive into that, who are you and who you with and what you got going on, brother?
Okay, so it's funny that you said I look like a youth pastor, because I was for I don't know how many years. It's many years. So apparently I still have the look.
You got the look.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, who I am, Brandon Shane. I host a weekly podcast, Beyond Formal. It's every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. I just got accepted into the Rumble Creators Program, so now
Nice.
I'll be doing a premium live stream at the end of every normal stream for about an hour after my normal stream's done, and we're doing deep dives into things. That's the series right now. It's gonna be like a 5 to 10 part series of deep dives of different things that I'm interested in. So we're doing Bohemian Grove, Joshua Tree, the Deep State, things like that. It's gonna bounce a little bit from like the conspiracy type and the paranormal Joshua Tree type to like politics, like the Deep State, and just things of that nature. But that's really who I am right now. I'm co-hosting the Whiskey Capitalist podcast on Mondays, but I'll be done with that at the end of March, and he's going to get somebody else in. I'm just kind of like filling in as an interim kind of co-host. But it's such a fun show. So if you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's a fun show. They go Monday and Wednesday. But yeah,
Okay.
That's really who I am. I love attending protests and going to man on the streets, and we can talk about that a little bit more. And I want to talk about the sign that I'm going to hold up at the next protest once we hit that part.
I can't wait. So I caught you doing that. I have seen you on the Whiskey Capitalist. Enjoyed them, and randomly ran into you there, and I was like, hey, I remember that guy.
That's right.
And
That's right.
yeah, great show. And something I love is that there's all these different media groups that are forming, and all these cliques and ties and relationships, and nobody's being a douchebag and saying like, we don't want any affiliation with you. We don't want to talk to you. We got our own little clique here. I'm a filmmaker.
Hmm.
And in my community, there's people that are like, well, I only work with this person, or I only work with that person. I'm like, well, whatever then. And so we got our little clique, and I'm like, please, by all means, work with other people. And I love that about what we're doing now. I mean, we are the media, right? Elon was
Oh
saying
yeah.
it, everybody's echoing it, and us coming together is really outweighing what the impact the mainstream media has. And we saw that in this past election, which is fantastic,
Love
long
it.
overdue, but it's great. And I'm thrilled. So I won't keep running my mouth, but for you, sir. So you're up in the Indiana area.
Yeah, all the way up north.
Okay, all right. And there was a protest that you went to. How did you find out about it? Why'd you go to it? What was your intentions that morning that you were going to go do this, or did you just happen to randomly run across and go like, "That looks like fun"?
Oh yeah, I definitely intended on doing it. So I've been looking at protests to go to for a while, and this one was close enough. It was a drive. Don't get me wrong, it was a drive. So the week before, I had found it, and on my Tuesday show, I was like, guys, I don't always ask this, but I'm gonna raise some money, and if you can throw me a couple bones so I could rent a car and have gas, I'm going to this protest. And sure enough, they sent me a slight more than what I actually needed for going down there and getting back and whatnot. It was a little bit more than what I needed, which is perfect.
Awesome.
And I'm going to continue doing that stuff. Definitely was intentional, and I
Okay.
went there with a plan. I went to the DNC as well, last year, and I didn't really have a big plan for that. I was like, I'm going to go there and just talk to people. It was good. It was fun. I strayed off course when, the anti-Israel people or whoever they were when they bust down the wall, the fence of the DNC. I was
Okay.
over there, so I try and get to the violence section, but it wasn't good for TV. Where
Hmm.
I should have just kept going with asking people questions, which I went back to, but it could have been way better. So this time I went with a clear intent plan, and I had like 4 or 5 questions lined up. Didn't get to all of them, but at least I had a plan going, and it was a lot more interesting this time around than it was last time. So the next time I go, it's going to be better. Next protest, or even just man on the street, anything I do, I'm going to go grab a sign. And I meant to do it for this indie protest, by the way,
I remember
but
you
Dollar
mentioning
General
it.
did not sell poster boards. And I'm going to bring a sign that says, I support mass deportation. And I'm sure it's going to turn some heads. So it's gonna be a good time.
So you went. I don't know what growth media is, and I don't know who Mike is. But I will say I shared. I loved it. I loved it so much. You were live, and I was like, I got to share this. Let's blow this thing up. Of course, nobody follows me. I'm a nobody, but I was like, let's do what we
Same.
can. And I was like, Brandon's out here doing a great job. And then I was still watching, and he goes, Mike, and I'm like, oh crap, is it Mike? I thought it was Brandon. And so I re-edited the post and everything. I was like, oh crap. But I thought it was great. So a couple of people I remember you talking to, I just kind of want to point out. And look, I'll say this: there are some things that I think we can all get on board with, the left, the right, up, down, whatever. And there were some good points brought up. A lot of people saying like, I don't like big government. I don't think anybody likes big government, but you spoke to someone who was running for a congressional seat, if I'm
Hmm.
remembering correctly.
Congressional candidate Jackson Franklin. Yep.
And I will say this before I go into it. He reminded me of an excited, like, fifth grader
Yep.
or something talking about politics. Like, I just want to make sure we take care of all people, and just, we can all agree on that, right? And he just had that. If you've ever seen, and of course, being a youth pastor at one point, the like children, when they get into that mode of like mocking or mimicking someone who preaches, is like, and then the Lord is like, no, you
Yeah.
don't have to talk like that. You don't have to do that. But he did. It's like, this is not the way you talk. This is not who you are. And he went into that gear, and he presented to you his platform, his talking points, which again fell a little short. He's like, I don't want big government. And then he says he does basically want big government for certain things. And yeah, what that was an interesting conversation. The other guy that kept speaking up, I kind of like some of the stuff he said. I was like, you're pretty based, dude. You're teaching about farming. You're teaching about firearm safety. You're teaching about all kinds of stuff. I was digging that. But what'd you think about Mr. Politician Man?
Mr. Politician Man, I don't know how old he was, but he was I think I compared him to like the mindset of a 15-year-old in a 25-year-old's body.
There you go.
And very similar to what you're thinking as well. And he just did not know what he was talking about.
We just need to take care of people and make sure they're happy.
This guy was like, he had good intentions, but even the intentions were wrong because he wants wrong things. So, you know, he thinks he's doing good for the people, but it really would be hurtful in the long run, I guess is what I'm getting at with that.
Yeah.
Nice enough guy. Don't get me wrong. Nice enough guy. But he's gonna lose. He's going against Victoria Spartz, by the way.
Okay.
And that's she's, you know, she gets herself out there quite a bit. And she does a good job. I don't know much about her because not anywhere close to my district, but she does a good job. This guy, she will just totally demolish him in a debate. I mean, me, I'm a nobody. Like you know, who am I? I don't know everything, but even the little bit that I knew, I was able to like out debate him or whatever you want to call it. You know, it wasn't really a debate, just conversation. But he had nothing for anything that I told him, and then he'd be like, okay, you know, I don't know. Let me look into that. And then he'll like change the subject to where he never actually looked into anything. You know, he would grab his phone, but never look into it. But what if it's not like that?
Wait, what? It is like that.
Well, how do you know if you don't know any of
I
the
don't know the numbers, but I know that it's like that. Like I can look at. Oh, let's find. I mean, we can,
let's look it up right now. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just I don't want to put any false information.
No, yeah, yeah. I'd rather get it right than what was it? Something about the border.
He did it like 2 or 3 times. I was like, this. It is what it is with this guy, you know. Jackson Franklin running out of Muncie, Indiana for Congressional District 5. Definitely don't vote for him. He will not be good for you guys in Indiana. But, you know, growth media, that was grown on the way to Indy. And I was just thinking to myself, talking to people, it's like, if I tell them Beyond Formal, they're going to look me up. They're not going to want to talk to me because you're going to see, I don't know if I can say tranny, but they're going to see a thumbnail that says tranny on it. And I don't hate transsexual, transvestite, transgender people or anybody like that. But, you know, one of the thumbnails says tranny on it. They're gonna be like, oh, we're not talking to this guy. Which I did have some of those, by the way. Don't talk to this guy. He's right wing.
Yeah.
And
what gives it away is that you brought facts to the table and you were having honest conversations. You weren't sticking to the pre-established talking points that they all stuck to, which, and I don't mean to cut you off, but to move you on a little bit here with another one. And when I say another one, like most of them, Trump and Elon are cutting Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, you know, all this, like, and you were like, okay, what's your reference? You know, where have you ever heard that? Oh, just talking to people. And you talked to one of the last ones you talked to was clean up water and all this and that. I don't know if that was a man or a woman.
Are you seriously asking me that question?
But they didn't have time to educate you on everything, but they didn't know where any of the information was.
They're trying to take away Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, like veterans' rights, trans.
Where are you seeing this at? I haven't seen this stuff.
Looking around, like.
So nowhere specific, just kind of.
I mean, there's too many sources to try and list them all for you.
One.
Okay, so I'm feeling like we really aren't on the same page. And I don't have the time to educate you on everything right now.
Do you think that this is just again? I mean, obviously, it's a talking point that's coming from the left, and is it being pushed out there by the mainstream media? Or is it the politicians, or is it a mixture of everything? Why are they buying into this so easily?
Yeah, it's a mixture. You know, when you're a leftist, it's a hive mind. So you don't have a central thought. Like we might have opinions that are similar, but your thoughts are different. You develop those opinions whether it's through research or even hearing people talk, but you think it through. Them, everything is a talking point. The guy running for Congress is running on talking points. That's it. He has no basis to anything that he was saying, which is why Joe Schmo from Growth Media was able just to, go right back at him with facts. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And even the one guy was like, are you trying to battle us? I'm like, no, man, I'm just giving facts. I said I don't want fake information.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
And but real Growth Media, by the way, I decided Growth, and I was like, get the right out the White House, Growth Media. That's what it stands for. I was like, what's the dumbest thing that they're going to buy? Oh, anything that has the right and get them out. So
yeah, there you go.
it took about 3 seconds for me to figure it out. But yeah, that's
that's their mindset.
That's what it is they have a hive mind. And then they go on Facebook, 50501, by the way. That's where I found this. And I've been keeping tabs on 50501, 50501. They're in every state. So if you type in 50501 Indiana, 50501 Illinois, whatever it is, you're going to find that specific group. And then the 50501 in general, you'll find that as well. I sound like a broken record, but I'm talking about different groups of the same hive mind.
Sure.
That's where I found it. They give the talking points in there. And if you ever go on Facebook and check them out, they're all going to look the same.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, different people posting, but they post the same thing. And it's just weird to me. It's actually kind of scary because in not a long time, these are going to be your leaders. Depending on where you live, if they're in a blue area, those are your leaders. Those are your politicians. It's a little scary.
It is. It's very scary. One thing that's not super scary and is really encouraging is that we're seeing so many young voters going conservative now.
Yes.
It's such a surplus and that such a growth in that area, and it's exciting to see that, and even people that aren't young that have shifted over to the right. A lot of it, like you said, is because you have to have this hive mind mindset, even though MAGA's the cult. You got to have this leftist mindset. You got to be in lockstep. Otherwise, you're like a leper. Get away from me. Get out of here. I mean, Trump, Democrat, RFK, Democrat, Tulsi, Democrat. You look at all these Democrats that are now Republicans, basically because the party left them. And someone that you talked to, and I was really interested to listen to things he said. Some of it I haven't had a chance to fact check, but it was the older gentleman who was sitting down with the red shirt. And of course, he said, Medicaid, all this and that. He said something, and it's always echoed in these groups. And of course, he was one of the biggest ones, was the millionaires, the billionaires, and a couple of them even tripped up and said trillionaires, which is funny to me.
And now they're cutting $1 trillion, but instead of putting it towards reducing the federal debt, they're using it to fund tax cuts for trillionaires and billionaires. Actually, there's no trillionaires. They're using it to fund tax cuts for the 1%. People who have already so much money, there's no way they could spend it all.
But there's such a disdain for successful, wealthy people on the left. I believe that we have created a society, and especially on the left, that rewards mediocrity, victimhood. You were the real champs. You were the real heroes. It's not the people who have built businesses from the ground up or made wise investments in growing businesses and then employed people. If we went back to how this country was formed, and any country is formed, it was all business owners, families having their own businesses, Now we got people that do that for us, and we can go work for them without having to have the overhead and the land and everything. People forget about all that. We are so spoiled. But he was one, and he shocked me because of his age. But I understand that, they all come in different shapes, sizes, colors, ages, and everything. But he was like, yeah, these millionaires and billionaires are getting tax cuts, and they're cutting these trillions of dollars, but then they're moving over here to tax cuts. I'm like, I don't think that's right. Were you shocked to hear his talking points, or are you like, yeah, I know exactly what you're going to say?
I pretty much knew about what he was going to say. I was not shocked. I mean, the dude had a "Don't buy a swastika" sticker with an Elon Musk with the Trump, with a Hitler stash. I said Trump.
Yeah.
Sorry. but you kind of saw it coming once he brought up trillionaires and billionaires, which is
Right.
what he said.
Yeah.
Um, but they don't want wealthy people to have wealth. They think it's a
Mm-mm.
bad thing, even
Right.
though all their gods in the Democrat Party,
Mhm.
small g gods who they worship, are millionaires, or
Yep.
at least are pretty darn close to it.
Mhm.
The Bernie Sanders millionaire, and once he hated millionaires until he became one, then he hates
Right.
billionaires,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's
right.
how they work. It's always them, not me, and
Mhm.
everybody has to have a bad guy. And so to these people, it's the millionaires and billionaires. They're the bad guys, even though the billionaires gave that guy a job, which allowed that guy to retire if he's retired by now. And that's something they don't understand. It's the millionaires and billionaires that did that, not somebody making $40,000 a year
Correct.
or 20,000. The people on welfare aren't building anything. And there's nothing wrong with being on welfare if you're trying to do something, there's nothing wrong with being on welfare, but you're not building anything, taking, taking, taking. If you have to do it, take when you have to, because that's what the systems are set up for. And that's what I would love to pay my taxes for the
Mhm.
poor and the needy and the widows, right? I'm okay with that. But once you start taking advantage of it, then it becomes something completely different. It's a different animal. The government, the left, the Democrat government wants you to depend on them to keep you enslaved. Whether you're white or black or whatever you are
Mhm.
across the
Mhm.
spectrum, they want to keep you enslaved to them. That's why they want, illegal immigrants here, because they want them to be slaves. They're not technically slaves, but they get paid pennies on a dollar, so to speak. That's why they want them. They're going back to their roots. That's what it is, of the plantation owners. Even I've heard
Absolutely.
black people call it. It's the Democrat plantation.
Mhm.
And that's why they want you on the welfare. That's why they convinced this hive mind of leftists to say millionaires and billionaires bad, welfare people
Mhm.
good, low
Mhm.
payment people good. If you make under $100,000 a year, you're good unless you're coming close to six digits. Then you might be an enemy, and that's kind of how it is. Even though their little g gods are all
Yeah.
millionaires, and billionaires.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
So I'd love to talk to you all night. I'll say one more, or two more things, I guess, real quick about that, and then we'll close out and let you talk a little bit about what you've got coming up again.
mhm.
Definitely promote yourself one more time. But one, how refreshing was it to walk across somebody who was as you said, normal, as you were leaving the protest, is some just guy just walking down the street, and like you said, I could tell he was normal by the way he walked.
Yeah.
Enough said on that. But yeah, how refreshing was it to have a conversation with him?
Oh man, found this guy, talked to him. He's like, "Oh, I'm a Trumper," all that stuff. It was great. What do you feel about Trump? Is he doing a good job, bad job?
Yeah, I mean, I voted for him. I love him. He showed in the first 4 years what he's about.
I saw him walk and I was like, "Oh, this guy looks mad." But then I thought about it. It's like, no, I just saw a bunch of feminine people, feminine men walking around. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going. It is what it is. And I saw this guy walking normal, and I was like, oh, he looks mad. It's like, oh wait, no, he's just walking, and he walked like a normal guy. So I knew he was a Trump guy, or at least a conservative. I don't care if he's a Trump guy, but a conservative guy.
Sure. Sure.
And then talk to him. I was like, oh man, what icing on the cake?
Mhm.
It's like it was great. And then unfortunately my phone died, so I didn't get
Yeah.
our conversation, but I had a 3 block conversation with him just about where he's from, how he was a Democrat, used to watch 3 hours of CNN a night, and then his eyes opened up and common sense reigned supreme. And it was so refreshing. And it just tells me, like, you know what? Doing this isn't make fun of libs, make leftists cry or anything like that, or make them fumble over their words 'cause they don't know facts. It's the people like you, Chris, people watching, and myself, to see, like, here's their talking points, here's reality.
Mhm.
Sometimes they mix, most times they don't. And it allows people like you and me to watch this and see common sense reign supreme. It's like, okay, well, they're telling me we need to give more money to Ukraine. And then, like, someone like me is going to say, well, we gave them, 300 billion or whatever the number is. And so someone watching is gonna be like, that's a lot of money. You're going to tell me they need more? And then, they start thinking and gears start turning. That's why I do it. It's not to make fun of anyone. I mean, you're going to get that just due to how they are.
Yeah.
But you saw that. I didn't make fun of anybody. I smiled to everybody I was there. Even the ones I trolled, I even smiled at the end where everybody's having fun unless they walk away. I mean, you can't do anything if they walk away. But everyone's smiling at the end. If they get mad or not, it's up to them. I can't control that. But yeah, that's that.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say about it is one, I hope you do more of them. Two, I would love for you to put a call out for anybody in the area to come with you so they can be your cameraman.
Yes.
Because I again, as a filmmaker and knowing what it's like to try to get good quality sound, good quality picture, you're over there with a camera doing all this, make sure you're in the shot. The it looked like what Rode Pro Go or something like that, maybe Rode Wireless Go or some kind of wireless mic on a stick.
Just a wireless mic, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, dude, you were doing the best you could. I thought you did great. Man, there was some times where I was like, man, I really wish I could see their face in HD right now, But it is what it is. So you should put a call out for somebody to come help you. If I was in the area, I would roll with you, brother. But I hope you do more. I get a kick out of it, and like you said, reality does have that right lean to it. Where one, when you start spouting out truth, they tend to think you're opposition because they already identify that, right? And two, when people do come to accept reality and accept the truth that's out there, they tend to move to the right. So it's kind of a double-edged thing there, right? So any closing thoughts on that, or anything else you want to promote on your page? And I will say this too, before you go, just your approach to everything. And like you were saying in the opening about things that you do have coming up is stuff that I like, stuff that I enjoy. One of the things I've always said to people that are doing what we do is when you find people that are authentic and they're not trying to be something they're not, no one's trying to be, when you're not trying to be the Joe Rogan or you're not trying to be the mainstream, you're just being your authentic self, having authentic conversations. People love that and flock to that more naturally. That's another thing we saw in this last election was, you might not be able to necessarily relate to Trump, but the dude's him. I mean, he wasn't putting on a front. He completely authentic, and everything that was thrown out by the left. Kamala, we see all the TikToks that are happening now from the left. There's nothing authentic about that side. It's nuts. So I want to throw that out there because I think that's high praise. Anybody who's out there doing the work, being themselves in the same time and not losing themselves, is awesome. So I love what you do. I can't wait to watch the next episodes. And I love the Bohemian Grove stuff and the deep state stuff. Doesn't matter who's in office. That stuff is awesome to look into. A little spooky. A friend of mine has a show called Mom's Mysteries and Mayhem. And she just recently did with Sean from Third Rail. If I was on there and they were talking about the Denver airport and stuff. Yeah. So I'm fascinated by all that. I love all of it. But go ahead one more time. If you'll promote your channel, close yourself out there, buddy.
Yeah. So I want to just address a little bit what you were saying about the video.
Oh, yeah.
I definitely want a cameraman. And funny enough, you saw Lindy Rigg in the chat of Whiskey Capitalist.
Yeah.
He goes live every Saturday, 8 p.m. Central. He's coming out to a Pride Fest with me in Indianapolis. I'm driving back out there. He's flying out there. And we're going to make a whole day of it. And he's going to be my cameraman. Sometimes I'm going to be holding the stick myself. I'm going to be his cameraman. And we're going to go back and forth. But I was just using my phone. I was live streaming. So to fix the quality issue, I'm not live streaming protests anymore or pray or whatever. I will be just recording it all. That way we get all in HD. And I'm going to be upgrading. What I go out with is not my... I have a Canon camera, an M50 or whatever. I've got my podcasting camera right here, but I've been using my phone. Well, when I go to on June 14th, when I go out there, I'll be using a DJI Action Pro 5. So I should have that by the time June comes around.
Okay.
So it's going to be nice HD, a little bit wider of a frame as well. And that's another thing that hit me pretty hard. Is the frame wasn't wide because I was going live on Rumble Studio, and it doesn't pick. It picks up just portrait, So it's 16 by 9s the portrait, which is why everything was so close. Because I had it out
okay.
like this.
Yeah,
I had the
yeah.
thing extended.
Well, the camera, it's a wide angle lens on the, like on the webcams, on the camera, it's all wide angle.
Yeah.
And you kept talking about how close, and I was like, why is he having such a hard time? But that makes sense if it crops
you
in
can only
like
do
that.
like this. If it doesn't work like this, I'll just be sideways.
Unreal.
So that's another thing I learned. I was like, well, not doing that ever again. Because even
Good
if I
call.
was holding myself, holding it sideways landscape mode
Mhm.
would give a clearer picture. It'd be a lot
Yeah, yeah.
easier. But yeah, so I'm upgrading everything. I'm gonna get a cameraman
Didn't
for
know that.
June. But until then, I've also learned just I can't do it with the phone when I'm live streaming, but I can hit the button, flip the camera around, and then I can just point at the person I'm talking to. I don't have to get us both in all the time. Just point at the person I'm talking to, and if I want to, flip it back around and then point, at both of us if
Yeah, yeah.
necessary. So different things I'm learning. Definitely going to get the hang of it more and more. Yeah, and then just to promote myself, like I said, June 14th, I am headed out to Indianapolis again for a Pride Fest. I don't care what you guys do, honestly, but when it comes to kids and indoctrinating us with this craziness, does this go on YouTube, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, I won't say what I was going to say. Sorry for saying the T word earlier.
I don't care. Say it. I don't
Okay.
care. I just got monetized, so I'm under the microscope, I'm sure, on YouTube.
Okay, I'm not gonna
I
say
don't
it.
care. Say
But-
it.
But transgenderism is a hurt yourself cult, if you
Mhm.
will.
Mhm.
A hurt yourself extremely bad cult, because we know there's a 40% before, and recent studies showed it's even more after. I used to say 40% after as well, but I just read it's even more after
I have heard that recently
affirmation.
as well. Mhm.
And that's not okay. And when you teach kids that stuff's okay, I have a big issue with that. I won't hit that too much anymore, but one thing that I'm doing now is I have a buy me a coffee link. It's buymeacoffee.com/beyondformal. You could do one-time donations. I would appreciate it. Every little bit of donation goes to me going to protests and going to doing man on streets in liberal cities and towns. That's what that's for. It's not to pay a light bill. I have a job. I own a business. It's to specifically get me to protests and stuff. One-time donations, great. I think it's $5 a month for a monthly subscription. I would appreciate it. And then there's an extra monthly subscription. It's like $10, and then you could check out the extras. There's not a whole lot of perks, honestly. I'm just doing this strictly to get myself out there. I think the $10 or $15 one a month, you get me for a half hour once a month, one-on-one, bounce ideas off to each other, things like that. And I think you can also kind of influence topics that I speak of. Like, we talk about Bohemian Grove.
Yeah.
You can influence those type of topics, like, hey, what's the next deep dive kind of deal. And then if you watch me live on Rumble, you can always subscribe to Rumble.
Mhm.
It's $5 a month. Subscribe to my channel on Rumble, $5 a month. And again, I get 100% of that. So that's like the best place to go, honestly. And Rumble rants. So anything I'm doing on the podcast, anything, all of it now goes to me going to a protest. And because we got to get the truth out there, we have to try to change their minds. That would be great. But for people watching, we want to just develop and edify ourselves to what common sense is. And I speak a lot about Christianity too. I don't know how everybody feels about that, but I want to get that out there as well. So I'm going to be promoting a pro-Christianity, a pro-common sense, and a pro-conservative aspect onto all of this. It's not going to be troll the libs anymore. And that's not what I did last time either, but it's not going to be troll the libs. You're going to get it. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be entertaining. Just like the guy with the sign. I told him, back up. You got to back up more. No, back up more. You're not in frame yet. Lift it up. Don't, put it down. And it's not, I'm going to do funny stuff like that. But the goal is to be pro-Christian, pro-conservative, and pro-common sense. That's what my channel is all about. Faith, politics, and culture. Faith comes first because it has to. That's where
right.
I stand with things. Chris, thanks for inviting me on. I want to do this again, Chris. So
Yeah.
I know I held you to a little bit of a shorter time today, but I want to do this again.
hey, you're in high demand, and I appreciate any time that you give me. And hey, look, if there's any other links that you want me to include, guys, all of his links for his socials will be down there. And I'm going to replace my Buy Me a Coffee link with his. And I don't know if you've got Venmo, PayPal, anything else that you might have out there. If there's anything else I can do, let me know and I'll put it down in the show notes below. But guys, go support him, because what he's doing is far and away bigger than what we're doing here just on camera. What he's going, he's hitting the streets, talking to people and converting them maybe to the right, to reality, maybe even to Christianity. And you guys know how much I love that and how big that is to my heart and my life. And I love that about what you do, brother. And go support him. And again, man, thank you so much for being on. I really do appreciate you knocking out a little time for me, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me come on, because this is fun. I know we're just kind of talking quickly back and forth. Yeah. I love doing this. I do check your stuff out from time to time. I've hit a couple lives, but like you said, they're once a month. I love checking them out once a month. Just that little bit of interaction. And you've been coming around too, so I've been able to interact with you, except for that first time you came around when I completely ignored you. I don't know if you remember that.
You did.
It was such an accident, but I did completely ignore him.
It happens.
So thanks,
I'm
Chris.
still figuring things out myself. So no hard feelings. All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
And as I was saying, all his links to his socials are down in the show notes below. Please go check him out. Give him a follow. Show some support. Again, my Buy Me a Coffee link that I never really talk about, but it's there. I'm taking it out and I'm putting a link to his Buy Me a Coffee so we can help him fund more things like this. It's huge. It's awesome. It's amazing. I love what he's doing. I want to go show him some support. And not only are his links to his socials down there, I did link to the actual video of him going to this protest and talking to people. So you can see the full protest. My intentions were, if I had him here longer, we would have looked at more clips, broken some stuff down a little bit more, had some fun with it. But of course, he's in high demand, got a lot going on. He's co-hosting other shows like he was talking about. So short time right now. But I'm planning on going on his show at some point and having him back on with me, possibly even on the faith-based stream next month. We'll see. I don't know. You never know how things go. Never know. But anyways, guys, go show him some love and, tell him the Morning Mayhem sent you.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.